project is called Building a Bridge. I'm Gabby Tilton.
I'm Lexi Dietrich.
So for our senior project, we built a bridge on the new section of the cross-country trails for the community and also the cross-country team to use.
We also built a sign holder to house a pre-existing sign as well as a trail map recreated and room for community announcements.
So for this project, our goals were to build a bridge, to build a sign holder, to learn about carpentry, to manage our time as well as money, and to approach businesses for donations.
Some skills we hope to learn through this project were being comfortable talking to professionals, independence and learning to self-motivate, and carpentry skills.
So the first thing we did was getting donations. And we found that we faced quite a bit of troubles for this because a lot of people didn't take us seriously, being two teenage girls walking into a hardware store saying, hey, we want to build a 36-foot bridge. Can we have some materials? So we approached businesses multiple times, and then once our advisor, Mr. Brookmeyer, came with us, the stores were quicker with responding about what they could donate and what they would be willing to donate. So we also faced troubles when we went to hardware stores after we had already started to go pick up lumber that we needed, or even like shingles, and people thought we were incapable of carrying the shingles, and yeah, it was sort of frustrating.
So what we were able to get donated through this, Freeport Hardware was very generous, donated all the hardware, and Hancock Lumber donated all the pressure-treated lumber and the stain. Machino & Sons Lumber was not able to donate anything, but they gave us a very good price on all the rough-cut lumber. In the Freeport running boosters covered all the remaining costs. So initially the cost was over $2,500, but after donations it came down to about $800, which was covered by the boosters.
So with getting donations, we learned a lot about how to approach businesses with confidence and how important it is to approach them with confidence. We also learned how to explain to people that we didn't know what we were doing and asking them to donate and why they should donate to us.
So for our sign holder, which was the first thing we built, we started off with two 4x4x8 pressure-treated posts, and we put two 2x4 cross beams connecting each post. To do this, we had to use a skill saw to cut a bunch of little slices out, and then use a hammer and a chisel to notch out a place for the 2x4 to sit. We then began to construct the roof. We created the structure, attached the strapping cross pieces, and then began to shingle. Once shingled, the sign was really heavy.
So that being said, some of the troubles we faced were transportation. We didn't build the sign on site, like where we were going to put it, but we thought that we could just throw it in the back of the trailer and grab it over there. But it ended up being 9 feet long and 7 feet wide, so we quickly figured out that that was not going to work. And it was also extremely heavy and really awkward and hard to move. So we ended up having to cut off the roof and moving it over to the field in two separate pieces, and then we reassembled it there with 10 feet posts instead of 8 feet posts so that it was high enough out of the ground.
So we learned a lot through this since it was our first thing we built. We learned how to shingle a roof and how to make sure that all the shingles stay straight. And we learned that you should plan the size of something before you try to move it. And we learned how to use a skill saw to create those notches.
The next thing we did was prep for the bridge to be built. So all the lumber was delivered to a parking lot in the recycling center. So we had to carry all this lumber that was donated from the parking lot through a tiny trail in the woods over to where we were going to build the bridge. And this was really hard because the lumber was extremely heavy, but we had our dad's help, and we greatly appreciate that because we wouldn't have been able to do it by ourselves. And with their help, it only took us 2 hours, and we stick and stacked it in 2 different piles. One pile was the 12-foot pile, which was the stringers, and the other pile was the 8-foot pile, which was the decking.
So some troubles that we faced while we were prepping for the bridge were that the wood was extremely heavy and difficult to transport, as Gabby said. The weather generally did not cooperate with us, so like we tried to go out and stain one day and it started to rain, so it was hard to find time to do things when it wasn't raining.
So what we learned through the preparation was how to stick and stack wood, and that it's a lot easier to do things when you have many hands and many people helping you. And we also learned that you do have to work around the weather, and that affects what you plan on doing. And we also learned how to stain the wood.
So for the actual construction of the bridge, it went pretty fast because we had done all our preparation. So first, we had to find out exactly where all the posts would go and to measure all that stuff. And we had to dig the holes, and the bridge was going over like this really muddy, wet place, so it was like really muddy, and we had to reposition some things multiple times, which was a little bit tedious. So we put some slate tiles in the bases of the holes so that the post wouldn't sink in the mud. And once we had the posts in place, we set the sills on top of them, and then once that was in place, we attached the stringers across. This process took us a whole day. The next day we came back and we carried all the deck boards over and screwed them down. And then Mr. Bergmeyer and his father-in-law helped us by building a low railing for the bridge.
The troubles we faced while creating the bridge itself was making sure that everything was square, because if it wasn't, it would mess up the whole bridge. And also making sure that the beams were the correct distance apart so that the weight would be equally distributed. And everything was really, really heavy. And when we got there, we also realized that we only had one screw gun, which was sort of a problem because we needed two. And like Lexi said, the trail was really, really muddy, and we kept sinking in the mud.
So what we learned through this was how to level and square off the posts on the uneven ground, how to work as a team because a lot of the stuff was heavy, so we needed to carry it like two people, and how to use power tools.
So this is a time lapse of myself and Lexi laying the decking on the bridge. So what we had to do was lay all the decking over, and then after we had all the decking laid over, we then adjusted one side to make sure that it was straight all the way down, and then we nailed it. So we also had a goal of creating a map of the trail so that community people would be able to see where they were going and map out where they wanted to go. So to create this, we took a bike with an odometer, and we also had a phone with the Map My Run app on it. And once the odometer was set and the Map My Run app was open, we walked the trails and recorded the distances from the bike as we went, and the phone gave us a satellite image of where we had walked, so then we created the map.
Some troubles we faced while creating the map. While we were walking out there, a man who was walking his dog on the trail saw us mapping it and started to get angry with us for ruining the trail by making it wider and expanding the distance. He was really rude to us. There was a lot of mud. There was also a lot of mud that got stuck in the tires of the bike we were using, so it was hard to get an accurate odometer distance because the mud was stuck, and we had to walk through the mud as well, which was difficult.
Here's a slideshow. helped us a lot with figuring out what we needed to do, how to do it, and just pretty much everything. I don't think we would have been able to do it without him.
We would also like to thank Abram Berkemeyer. He helped us out a lot with the various different things.
We would like to thank our parents for letting us do this and also for helping us with moving the lumber and sticking and stacking the wood.
We would like to thank Angie Lattis, who's Bert's father-in-law, for helping build the railing.
We would like to thank Josh Zola, our field advisor, for answering our many questions that we had for him.
We would also like to thank the Freeport running boosters. They were very generous and agreed to give us to cover the remaining costs of our project that we didn't get donated.
Also, Seymour Excavating. He came out and did the trail, and he was great.
We would also like to thank Freeport Hardware. As we said, they donated all the hardware for this project.
And Hancock Lumber, they donated the pressure-treated lumber and didn't judge us when we put 12-foot posts in the back of a 4-foot bed truck.
And Machino and Sons Lumber for giving us a really good price on the rough cut lumber.
As well as Freeport High School for giving us this opportunity. Are there any questions?
What was the most challenging part of the process for you?
So the question was, what was the most challenging part of the process? In my opinion, it was like the asking for the donations, because that was just really nerve-wracking. Both Gabby and I are pretty shy people, so that was really hard for me at least.
That was the hardest part for me too. And it was frustrating that people wouldn't respond to us. Like, it took multiple times and going to different stores asking them the same thing again before they responded. So that was difficult.
Mr. Erkenmeyer?
How has your attitude changed towards building?
The question was, how has our attitude changed towards building? I don't know. Like, I mean, I didn't build anything before, so it was a cool experience. I don't know.
I think it was really, like, I'm definitely more comfortable, like, building now, not necessarily like a professional, but more comfortable with it. And I think it was really rewarding because you have, like, an actual product that you finish, so that was really